Subtracting whole numbers. Clyde recently has a systolic reading of 156 while at the doctor's office a couple weeks ago. Now that he's been on his new medication and exercising every day, he has returned to the doctor's office to see if these changes have improved his systolic reading. At the doctor's office, his new systolic reading is 135. How much has Clyde's systolic blood pressure dropped? So, to answer this, we are going to be doing a subtraction problem. This is known also as a difference between two numbers. To find the difference between the two numbers, what we're going to do is put the 156 on the top because it is the larger number. And then we're going to subtract 135 from it, and we're going to write it directly below it. And just like we did with adding whole numbers, we're going to line up the place values and work right to left. So 6 minus 5 is 1, 5 minus 3 is 2, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have an answer of 21. So his systolic blood pressure has dropped 21 points. So let's look at another example. This one is just two numbers. So we have 6,038, and then we're going to subtract 3,519 from it. So we will write 6,038 on top because it's the larger one, and then the 3,519 for this one. So once again, we're also lining up the ones, the tens, and the hundreds, and the thousands. And then we can subtract starting on the right-hand side first. 8 minus 9 is not something we can do. So what we have to do is this thing called borrowing. Borrowing happens is when you look to the next place over and you take a whole number from it. So from the 3, we're going to take a whole 1, 10, because it's in the tens place, so we're essentially just taking 1 tens and transferring it over to the 8. So now we have 18 ones essentially. So the 3 becomes a 2, and then the 8 becomes 18, so we'll just put the 1 right there. So now we have 18 minus 9, which is possible, and this is 9. Now we have 2 minus 1 in the tens place, which is just 1. 0 minus 5 is also something we cannot do, so we must borrow again, this time from the thousands. So we make the 6 into a 5, and then we put the 1 that we borrowed from in the hundreds place. So now we have 10 in that place. So 10 minus 5 is 5, and 5 minus 3 is 2. So our answer is 2,519. So when subtracting whole numbers, always remember to line up the place values and then work right to left. Now that we've covered the basics about subtracting whole numbers, let's apply what we've discussed back to our blood pressure scenarios. Darius' job has become more stressful over the last couple of years. His most recent blood pressure reading told him that his systolic reading has elevated to 128. How many points would he need to reduce his number by in order to get into that normal range and have a systolic reading of 118? So to do this problem, once again, we're going to line up the two numbers, putting the 128 on top and the 118 directly below it. And then we're going to start from the right. 8 minus 8 is 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we'll just leave it as 10. So he will need to drop 10 points in order to get that target of 118.